Here at the Master Switch, we don't deal in ultra high-end gear. I mean, yes, we have things on our site that we've featured and reviewed that cost several $1,000s, up to about the $7,000 range. But once you sort of get into that area, you start kind of going into a price range where 90% of people are not going to be interested. They're simply not going to have the money to get that. Now, there are audiophile sites out there like hardcore, ultra high-end audiophile. We're not one of them. We tend to stick to more of the mid-range, which is cool. We're totally fine there. But every so often, we'll get sent a piece of gear that just makes me raise an eyebrow. I can't actually raise an eyebrow. You can imagine it. A while back, I did a floor standing speakers roundup. And at the end of our roundups, sometimes I put a little section saying, if I had $1 million, what would I buy? What's the most expensive speaker on earth? And in that slot, I put the Goldman Apolog Anniversary, a $500,000 speaker that has been featured in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York. Now, I did it for fun. I didn't actually expect anybody on our site would buy it. And I was a little bit surprised, to put it mildly, when Goldman themselves got in touch saying, thank you for writing about our speaker, can we send you something? Now, they didn't send me the Apolog Anniversary. What they sent me was this, the Goldman Telos 2 headphone amplifier, which retails for $10,000. Normally, quite a bit more high-end than anything we'd feature on our site, but when someone says to you, can I send you a $10,000 headphone amplifier, the answer is not no. So what do you get for your $10,000? It must be said the first impressions were mixed. This is not a beautiful amp. It's a big grey box. I know that the Swiss design aesthetic tends to the conservative side, but even so, really, it is a very unexciting looking piece of equipment. I mean, outside of the gold plaque on the front, which is cool, it's boring. That's all there is to it. It's a very boring grey box. It's also surprisingly light on features for something that will cost you 5 figures. You don't get that many inputs. The USB input is USB 2.0, not even 3.0, which I was quite surprised about. You do get a digital input, but really, I mean, there's nothing to write home about around the back end. I mean, you get 2 for headphone outputs, which is great. Around the front, you get a binaural switch, we'll be talking about in a second. You get an input selector, and you get the volume control. So it's a very basic amp. It doesn't even come with a power cable, because at this kind of price range, once you start getting into the 5 figures, mostly you're going to be needing to invest in dedicated professional power supplies to really get the best out of this kind of product. What else? It has a built-in digital analog converter. It takes DSD, everything you'd expect there. But really, looks aside, you buy this thing for one reason only, and that's the sound. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. It's really clear, really detailed, really revealing. It really just lets you get an insight into exactly what's going on in your music. Really crystal clear, surprisingly weighty as well, particularly down low, to go with that nice detail in the highs. And it has at least one really, really cool trick, which is the little binaural switch around the front. You flick the switch into binaural mode, and it mixes the left and right channels to give you a better stereo image. It's a trick I've seen before in the Hafler HA75, for example, which actually let you control the amount of binaural mixing you got. But the effect is much more refined here, and it's much more noticeable. You flick it on and it's an instant improvement to your music. It's a lot of fun to listen to. So yes, it sounds great, but is it worth 10K? Should you shell out 5 figures for this? Man, I don't want to sound ungrateful here. When you get sent a piece of high-end equipment, especially when that's not something you normally deal with, you want to love it. You want to just give it a 5 stars and an automatic editor's choice badge, but I can't here. Here's why. Am I gonna choose this over something like a Wells Audio Head Trip or a Prima Luna Dialogue? No, I don't think so. Yes, the sound is technically better in the sense that it's more revealing and it's clearer. And when you pair it with a good pair of headphones, and I paired this with a bunch, Focal Utopia, Audeze LCD-X, Focal Clear, a Hi-Fi Man model, just a bunch of different headphones. Headphone Bar, go check them out, they're great. Yes, it technically sounds better, I guess. It's more revealing, the sound is clearer, and you get that fantastic binaural mode, but there's something missing. There's a lack of soul to the sound. And I'm not just talking about things like you get from tube amps. I'm talking about there's just something missing, something indefinable. It's well made. It sounds great. I'm not going to deny that. And if you do want that absolutely crystal clear sound, yes, you should get it. But I can't recommend you buy this over the Wells Audio Head Trip, which costs $3,000 less. I just can't. I feel terrible doing that because I don't get sent equipment like this very often, but objectively and purely ethically, I have to say, this left me just a touch cold. Sorry. I'm Rob, this is the Master Switch. If you would like to hear me ranting a bit more about this in more detail, link is in the description as always. And yes, please don't forget to subscribe. We post videos every single week. Usually they're much shorter and a little bit less ranty.